You do not get a better lifestyles by means of ready. You get it by building better behavior. That one sentence is probably all you want to pay attention these days, because the reality is your life right now is a reflection of your behavior. What you do, how you suspect, how you show up, and the way you react. In case you've been caught, lost, or mentally worn out, it is not due to the fact you're damaged. It is because your each day habits are not working for you. They're operating in opposition to you. The best news is this. You may rewire your whole attitude by means of converting what you do every day. Not subsequent year, now not subsequent month nowadays. This audio book will stroll you through 10 nice habits on the way to rewire your mindset. Those are easy, clean, real existence practices that assist you believe you studied sharper, feel higher, awareness more potent, and ultimately circulate ahead with your existence. If you observe simply one in all them, your life will shift. If you practice all 10, everything can exchange. No hype, no fluff, just reality, outcomes, and your subsequent stage. Bankruptcy 1. Awaken with a cause and forestall losing time. Wake up with a purpose and stop wasting time. It sounds simple, but it is one of the maximum powerful adjustments you'll ever make on your existence. Each day human beings open their eyes and roll out of bed, and not using idea what they may be doing. No route, no urgency, no cause in the back of their movements. And that is wherein the general public lose. Not because they're not smart, now not due to the fact they don't have skills, but because they start the day like it does not matter. And while you live like that, the day slips right from your palms. You need to begin waking up like your life is on the line, due to the fact it is. You do not get these days again. You won't get these hours lower back. If you do not use this time to build something significant, it disappears forever. And that need to hassle you, that need to shake something interior of you due to the fact some time is your existence. It really is all life is time. And while you waste time, you are wasting your personal existence. There may be nothing more painful than searching lower back and realizing you probably did nothing along with your days. Now, I am no longer talking about being busy. I am speaking approximately being intentional, waking up and pronouncing, I'm doing this nowadays and that I realize why. That sort of clarity modifications everything. It offers you power. It makes you sharp. It facilitates you saying no to distractions. It makes your movements stronger, quicker, and extra direct. Most of the people don't live with aim. They live with recurring. Equal thoughts, same behavior, identical excuses, equal lawsuits, and then they marvel why not anything adjustments. Waking up with cause approach you, forestall handing a while over to the world. You stop letting the day control you, and you are taking fee. To those who succeed, the ones who grow, the ones who make a distinction, they do not drift. They determine. And that decision starts off evolve the moment they wake up. They do not scroll their cell phone. They don't hit snooze. They don't wander via the morning. They move with a cause. This is the mindset that rewires the whole thing. Reason offers you fireplace. You feel it whilst you awaken and realize what you're chasing. You don't need motivation when you have a cause. And that's what the majority are missing. They wait to feel accurate before they act. But human beings with motive do not wait. They act and the sensation comes later. So stop looking for a few ideal second. You create the moment through doing what desires to be accomplished. Every morning ask yourself, what am I constructing these days? Now not what is at the to-do list. No longer what you feel like doing. What are you constructing? You build confidence by way of maintaining promises to yourself. You build electricity by means of going through the stuff you keep away from. You construct a future by way of doing something these days your destiny self will thanks for. That is what motive looks like in actual lifestyles. It's not a feeling. It's a selection backed by using field. In case you hold waking up without a plan, you are setting yourself as much as repeat the identical cycle. This is why human beings feel caught. It really is why they sense worn out. It is why they lose their power. It is no longer due to the fact lifestyles is unfair. It's due to the fact they live without purpose. You could have a higher life in case you start proudly owning your mornings. No longer in the future today, right now. If you give a while the cost it deserves, your complete life will begin to alternate. Your cause doesn't want to be a few grand project. Begin small. Start actual. Maybe it's going in form. Perhaps it's becoming extra disciplined. Perhaps it's constructing an enterprise, solving your budget, or converting how you suspect. Something it's far. Tie it to your each day movements. Make it count number today due to the fact, if it does not count number these days, it may not depend at all. Do not stay your life usually getting ready to begin. This is how human beings waste a long time. Begin treating time like money. Could you give away your last dollar to someone who failed to earn it? Then why do you give away your remaining hour to matters that do not develop you? Consider that. It's slow as your forex. Spend it wisely. Make investments that inhabits mind and moves that take you somewhere new. Whenever you use a while properly, you construct momentum, and that momentum turns into progress. That progress builds self-belief, and self-belief builds a brand new mindset. But it all starts off evolved while you forestall wasting time, whilst you wake up day after today. Do not take hold of your telephone. Do not test your messages. Sit still for a few minutes. Breathe. Ask yourself, what do I need to recognition on these days? Not what's urgent, no longer what people count on. What topics to you? That one question can shift your course. Write it down. Set your focus. Start the day with power, no longer response. This is how you are taking again control. You might not constantly experience like doing it. This is regular. But field isn't about how you sense. It is approximately doing what is proper, even if it's uncomfortable. And over the years, that turns into who you're. Your behavior form your identity. You want to be a person sturdy. Begin performing, find it irresistible whilst no one's looking. You want to be someone centered. Then dispose of the distractions and do what needs to be performed. It starts off evolved small. However, it becomes everlasting while you repeat it each day. Humans constantly talk about fulfillment like it's some thriller, but it's now not. It's simply consistency around the proper habits. Waking up with a motive, taking some time seriously, respecting yourself enough to live disciplined. This is it. It is not complex, but it takes paintings. And that's why most of the people do not alternate. They need the rewards without the recurring. But you're now not most people. You are right here due to the fact you know there's greater. You've got wasted sufficient time. You've got not on time sufficient goals. You've talked yourself out of development too commonly, and now it's time to forestall. Wake up with a project. Act love its subjects because it does. There are humans counting on you. Even supposing they don't say it, your destiny is relying on you, and its simplest suggests up while you do. So the following day morning, deliver yourself a new begin. Get up early. Think clearly. Flow with aim and begin rewiring your lifestyles one habit at a time. The primary habit is easy. Wake up with reason and prevent wasting time. Get that one right and the whole thing else starts falling into area. Chapter. Plan your day earlier than the sector distracts you. Plan your day earlier than the arena distracts you. It really is one of the excellent movements you may ever make in your boom, your peace, and your destiny. Due to the fact as soon as your faft hit the ground, the whole lot around you is designed to drag you in a 100 guidelines. Human beings will need some time. Notifications will beg to your attention. Your thoughts will begin leaping from one element to another. And if you haven't taken manipulate of your day first, the sector will take it for you. The truth is the majority stay in reaction. They do not determine how their day will go. They reply to what shows up. They open their telephone. Take a look at emails, scroll through messages, and start following everybody else's schedule. And what takes place next? The crucial things do not get accomplished. The goals live goals. The pressure builds. The mind receives cluttered, and that they stop the day wondering wherein the time went. You can't come up with the money for to live that manner. Not if you're critical about converting your life, no longer if you need to rewire your attitude, your desires, your recognition, your habits. All of them depend on the way you begin. Planning your day is the way you set the tone. It's the way you live targeted. It's the way you get the proper matters carried out, as opposed to simply staying busy. Due to the fact being busy isn't the same as being effective. You could be busy all day, and nevertheless fall in the back of. But while you're intentional, whilst you plan your actions flow you forward earlier than the noise starts. You want silence. Now not simply physical silence, however mental clarity. That occurs while you are taking time within the morning to determine what subjects maximum. You take a seat down, you grab a notebook, you write out your top 3 goals for the day. You make a decision your priorities, you observed via some time, you timetable your deep work, you create area for attention. And when you do this, you forestall leaving your lifestyles to danger. The majority don't realize this, but making plans your day gives you electricity. It gives you manage. Whilst you plan ahead, you take away guesswork. You do not take a seat around thinking what to do subsequent. You have already decided. That is the difference between development and procrastination. Individuals who wing it usually waste it. However, individuals who plan it construct it. And here's something else. Making plans your day reduces tension. Your thoughts receives beaten while you're trying to hold too much in your head. But when you take 5 to 10 minutes within the morning to put it all down, what needs to be accomplished while you're doing it, what you are focusing on, you free your thoughts to suppose sincerely. You provide your self-course. You forestall overthinking due to the fact now there may be structure and shape brings peace. It would not need to be complicated. You do not want fancy systems or 10 apps. All you need is goal. You awaken, you take a breath, and you ask yourself, what have to get performed these days to move me towards the lifestyles I want? It truly is the question that sets your popular. It's the question that removes distractions. Due to the fact whilst you're clear on what topics, you stop chasing everything that doesn't. You see, human beings waste hours because they in no way prevent to determine what matters maximum. They circulate from one element to every other, reacting, responding, checking, scrolling, and by the give up of the day, their energy is long gone. But consider in case you planned ahead. Believe starting the day knowing what merits your electricity. It's how you're making development. You could sense it truly is how you finish the day with pleasure in place of regret. Making plans additionally builds subject. It teaches you to value your time. You start treating your hours with appreciate. You forestall expecting motivation and begin counting on shape. Because while you plan ahead, you do not want to experience like doing it. You already scheduled it. And that schedule will become your commitment. And that is key. Commitment. No longer simply to responsibilities, however to growth. You cannot develop if your days are packed with noise and confusion. You want area to suppose. You want time to execute. And that starts off evolved with a plan. You take a seat down, look at your day, and ask, where am I going to put my electricity? What am I heading off that wishes to get accomplished? Who do I want to comply with up with? What distractions do I need to reduce today? These are the questions that make you sharp. They keep you from drifting. They hold your desires alive. Right, here's any other fact. Planning your day enables you build better habits. Why? Due to the fact behavior do not form simply from repetition. They form from clarity. You are much more likely to follow through while you recognize exactly while and the way you'll do something. In case you say, I want to study extra, but you don't timetable time, you may skip it. But in case you say, I'll examine from 700 to 7:30 within the night time, now it's real. You have made area for it. It is how behavior get wired in. Don't depend upon self-control. Rely upon structure. Depend on clarity, because when lifestyles gets messy, and it's going to, your plan is what holds you regular. It's what maintains you moving. It is what enables you win even at the tough days. If you best paintings whilst you experience fantastic, you won't get a long way. But in case you plan it slow, you'll get results whether or not you sense adore it or no longer. Now, I want you to think about this. If you do not manipulate it slow, someone else will. And usually, it is not someone with your excellent interest in thoughts. That is why you want to take ownership from the very starting of the day. Your goals, your mental health, your electricity, they all rely on the way you spend some time. And that starts off evolved with a plan. Your mindset receives sharper whilst you plan ahead. Your self-belief grows due to the fact you stop dwelling in chaos. You stop forgetting matters. You prevent feeling like the day were given far away from you. And that consistency, that feel of control, that's what builds a new identity. You start to see yourself in another way, no longer as a person who's usually in the back of, however as someone who's in charge, as a person who respects their time, as someone who suggests up with recognition, And that is effective due to the fact after you shift how you operate your time, you shift the way you live. And after you shift the way you live, your effects exchange. Planning your day would possibly sound small, however it touches the entirety. It touches your paintings. It touches your health. It touches your dreams. It touches how you communicate to human beings, how you deal with yourself, the way you sense whilst the day is over. It's now not just a dependency, it's foundation. So, in case you need to rewire your attitude, begin right here. Begin the following day. Wake up and plan your day earlier than the arena gets to you. Sit together with your mind. Write down your priorities. Choose your focus. Then go into your day with electricity. Pass in with manipulate. Go in with path. It is how you stop surviving your days and begin constructing your existence. One clean plan at a time. Chapter 3. Talk to yourself like someone you appreciate. Talk to yourself like someone you appreciate. That one shift can trade the way you stay, the way you believe you studied, and the way you display up inside the international. Each day we have an ongoing conversation in our minds. We wake up and begin talking to ourselves. We choose, we examine, we criticize, we query our really worth, and most of the people don't even understand how destructive that voice has grown to be. It sounds familiar, but it is regularly harsh, impatient, and poor. The fact is, if a person else communicate to us the manner we communicate to ourselves, we would reduce them off. However, we preserve being attentive to that inner voice, because we've never found out to talk to ourselves with the equal appreciate we display others. If you need to rewire your mindset, you need to start by means of changing your internal language. You can't construct self-belief by means of tearing yourself down. You cannot develop more potent by means of feeding your thoughts with doubt. You cannot create a better lifestyles in case you're constantly telling yourself that you're no longer good sufficient to deserve it. The way you communicate to yourself will become the manner you see yourself, and the manner you notice yourself controls what you expect from existence. Start being attentive to the words you operate while you think about yourself. Might you are saying those identical matters to a pile you admire? Might you tell someone you care about that they may be lazy, worthless, or no longer true sufficient? Could you roll your eyes when they are trying something new, or make a mistake of direction no longer? So why do you do it to yourself? That habit needs to give up. It doesn't assist you. It holds you back. It maintains you gambling small, and it becomes your identity. In case you don't restoration it. Respecting yourself in concept is not about ego. It's not about pretending you're best. It's about giving yourself the same kindness, staying power, and encouragement which you provide to others. You have made mistakes. So has everybody. You have failed at matters. So has all people. However, you are nonetheless right here. You are still attempting. That counts for something. That deserves appreciate. That deserves better phrases in your head. When you talk to yourself like a person you appreciate, your posture adjustments. Your decisions end up bolder. You start believing you could exchange. You stop settling for much less. You forestall tolerating things that make you miserable. You start choosing what builds you, no longer what breaks you. And all of that starts off evolved with one simple shift. Your inner voice. It is clean to let self-talk spiral out of manipulate. One small mistake becomes I usually mess things up. One ignored purpose will become I in no way follow through. That kind of talk kills progress. It turns quick, time period setbacks into lengthy, term identities. And earlier than you understand it, you're wearing around shame that does not belong to you. Appreciate means being sincere, but additionally being truthful. You can admit wherein you went incorrect without calling yourself a failure. You can need to enhance without thinking you're damaged. Your thoughts listens to the entirety you say. Even while you're joking, while you name yourself lazy, your thoughts takes word. When you say you are not smart sufficient, your thought starts off evolved believing it. And once a perception is repeated sufficient, it turns into part of your conduct. It truly is why it's crucial to replace bad self-communicate with language that builds power. You don't need to be overly high quality or fox. You just want to be correct and positive. Start catching the one's automated negative thoughts. Don't let them go unchecked. While you listen yourself say, I'm no longer correct at. Say, I'm nonetheless gaining knowledge of this. I'll get higher. Whilst you sense yourself thinking, I cannot handle this. Exchange it to that is difficult. However, I have handled difficult matters before. This is not fluff. This is mental education. It's the way you rewire the manner you believe you studied. Consider the way you talk to an infant who is learning. You don't shout at them once they fall. You don't insult them after they do not apprehend something right away. You manual them. You encourage them. You inform them. Attempt once more. You remind them, you are doing remarkable. Keep going. Now ask yourself, whilst become the last time you stated those phrases to yourself. On every occasion you tear yourself down. You support the notion that you're not enough. But whenever you carry yourself up with admire and encouragement, you improve the fact that boom is feasible, and that reality will deliver you through the toughest moments of your life. Respectful self-talk additionally builds intellectual toughness. You may need it while matters get rough. Earlier than I left the fleet, I noticed with my very own eyes many truths. You may need it while human beings doubt you, when consequences are sluggish, while fear indicates up. In case your thoughts turns in opposition to you in those moments, you may quit. However, in case your internal voice is firm, calm and clean, you may live the course. You'll remind yourself why you started. You may inform yourself, that is worth it. That internal power turns into a shield, and it's built word by using word, idea by concept. A few people consider that being tough on themselves maintains them disciplined. However, there's a distinction among field and disregard. Area is saying, I anticipate more from myself due to the fact I understand what I'm able to. Disrespect is saying, I am now not top enough, so I'll by no means make it. One lifts you up, the other wears you down. If you want to be consistent and resilient, you want area without the abuse. You need to push yourself with admire. Begin being the voice you wish you had whilst you had been struggling. Communicate to yourself like someone who wants to grow, no longer a person who's doomed to copy the equal mistakes. Remind yourself of the development you've made. Speak about your goals like they be counted. Have fun your effort, no longer simply your effects. It is the way you construct agree with yourself. And self-rust is what results in real self-assurance. Self-belief doesn't come from achievements. It comes from the connection you have got with yourself. In case you communicate with encouragement, honesty, and persistence, you come to be your own supporter. And if you have your own help, you prevent wanting so much approval from the arena. You forestall chasing praise. You stop fearing judgment. You start transferring through existence with quiet strength. Due to the fact deep down, you've got your personal returned. You're not going to get the entirety proper. You are going to have days wherein you slip. You will have moments wherein the negative thoughts come dashing in. It's ordinary. But what matters is the way you respond. Will you live stuck in that mindset, or will you correct the idea and replace it with something stronger? Each correction is a breakthrough. Each type word is a constructing block. And through the years, the old patterns lose their grip. So check your tone whilst you talk to yourself. Note the language. Be aware the strength. Start constructing a new habit of talking with recognize. Communicate like someone who desires to see you win. Talk like someone who believes on your capacity. Talk like a person who knows you have work to do. However, additionally is aware of you are capable of doing it. You're with yourself every second of your life. You hear every word you are saying internal. Ensure those phrases push you ahead, no longer pull you again. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be actual. An actual manner treating yourself with dignity even inside the battle. This is the shift that rewires your attitude. It truly is the habit that separates you from the person you was once. You've got spent sufficient time being attentive to doubt. It's time to build something higher. One phrase at a time, one notion at a time, one choice at a time. Talk to yourself like a person you recognize, and you will emerge as someone you recognize. This is in which real alternate starts off evolved. Bankruptcy 4. Take motion whilst your thoughts says put off once more. Take movement when your thoughts says delay again. That second when your thoughts start convincing you to attend, to delay, to think about it later. That moment is the precise turning factor where your destiny is decided. Now, not day after today, no longer next week, right there. while the concept comes and your thoughts resists. That resistance is the wall between who you're and who you could turn out to be. And the majority lose that struggle, no longer because they're weak, however, due to the fact they consider the put off. They trust the voice that asserts, no longer now, and they do not even understand that voice is what's keeping them stuck. Delays do not always seem like fear. Now and again they show up dressed as good judgment. I am worn out these days. I will feel greater equipped day after today. This isn't always the proper time. Permit me simply relaxation a chunk first. That voice sounds reasonable. It even feels shielding. But in fact, it's a dependency of hesitation. And in case you do not assignment that addiction, it grows more potent. The more you delay, the greater it will become part of your habitual. And eventually you prevent trusting yourself to comply with through. You cannot construct something with hesitation. You cannot grow with avoidance. You cannot turn out to be your first-rate self whilst continually suspending the work. It truly is why this one dependency taking motion, exactly whilst your thought says postpone, is the breakthrough. It is now not about motivation, it is approximately reaction. That first few seconds when your mind says pause, this is while you break through. Not due to the fact you feel love it, however due to the fact you've determined to be the form of person who follows via besides. The real task is internal. You realize what you need to do. You've got concept approximately it. You've got deliberate it. But while the time comes, you start negotiating. It truly is the lure. The mind will try to bargain its way out of soreness. And you have to be faster than the excuse. The window is brief. Seconds. Every so often either you act, or the mind takes over and pulls you back into put off. And here's the fact. Whenever you act while you do not feel love it, you build area. You ship a message on your mind that you're on top of things now. You do not want best conditions. You don't want complete power. You don't need extra time. You simply want to start. That one selection creates momentum, and momentum is strong. Once you start, matter starts shifting. Strength indicates up. Clarity returns. The project you have been warding off no longer feels as heavy. It's the beginning that changed into the toughest component. Reflect on consideration, on how many things for your lifestyles ought to have already been finished, if you had just started while it was time. That conversation you preserve pushing off. That task you preserve saying you'll get to. That intention you promised yourself you'd paintings on months in the past. They're no longer undone because of lack of know-how. They may be now not undone due to lack of time. They're nevertheless waiting because of put off. The dependency of setting matters off steals extra dreams than failure ever will. The longer you delay, the heavier things experience. An easy mission starts to experience like a burden. A 1-hour process turns into a mental weight. And through the years, that weight becomes guilt. You begin questioning, why can't I simply do it? However, it's now not about your capability. It's approximately your pattern. Your brain got used to consolation. It constructed a pathway that announces if it's uncomfortable, keep away from it. But you're no longer right here to live secure. You are right here to grow. An increase handiest happens on the other side of motion. You might not sense equipped. Stop watching for that. Maximum breakthroughs happen while you circulate forward regardless of the feeling. The mind needs protection. The soul needs enlargement, and they regularly do not agree. That is why you feel inner battle. But whenever you select motion over delay, you build a stronger version of yourself. You turn out to be someone you could assume. Someone who does not get pushed around by hesitation. There's electricity in doing the small matters right away. Waking up whilst the alarm rings. Answering the email you've been avoiding. Getting commenced on the exercising. Opening the ebook. Sitting all the way down to paintings. Those do not seem like huge things. However they may be. They're the evidence which you're becoming a person who follows through. And that consistency will change your identification. When you are taking action despite resistance, your self-recognize increases. You stop seeing yourself as a person who quits. You begin seeing yourself as someone who receives it carried out. That self-pigeon upgrade is what drives long time period alternate. You may only appreciate yourself whilst you stay in a way that aligns together with your desires. And that means no longer giving in to postpone, while you promised yourself development. This is not about pace, It's approximately purpose. You do not need to do everything at once. You just want to behave while your mind tries to stall. This is the guideline. While the hesitation indicates up, do not argue with it. Do not debate it. Do not sit with it. Just act. One step, one movement, one selection. Damage the pattern before it becomes a cycle. You don't want greater time. You need less hesitation. That's what the general public do not realize. They assume they're looking forward to a higher second. However, truly they're simply working towards avoidance. And practice makes everlasting. So forestall practicing the delay. Practice execution. Exercise being the individual that movements even if it's difficult. Practice courage in motion. Delays rob you of peace. When something wishes to be finished, and also you keep away from it, it remains in your thoughts. It drains your power within the heritage. That message you didn't ship, that decision you failed to make, that task you did not finish, they don't disappear, they linger, and each time you consider them, your strain will increase. However, while you deal with them right now, you unfastened your mind. You're making space for recognition, creativity, and confidence. It is now not approximately being perfect. It's approximately being present. Delay maintains you in a loop of in the future. However, in the future doesn't exist. There's simplest now. And now could be the vicinity where everything starts off evolved. In case you educate yourself to do so the moment hesitation indicates up, you are taking back manipulate. You stop being a victim of your feelings. You forestall looking forward to existence to feel proper. You create the proper feeling with the aid of doing the proper factor. The entirety you want requires motion. Desires do not respond to aim, they respond to execution. In case you put off, the opportunity passes. The strength fades. The momentum dies. That is why you need to act quicker than your excuses. You could assume later. Right now you flow. You begin, you show up. It really is the actual difference between people who grow and those who live the equal. You have greater control than you suspect. However, control comes from motion. You cannot think your way into change. You need to act your manner there, despite the fact that it is uncomfortable, even supposing it's inconvenient, although it's strange. Your next level is hidden in the back of the component you hold warding off. And the only way to reach its miles to undergo that resistance immediately. So the following time your thoughts says do it later. Understand it for what it is. It's no longer a valid motive. It's a take a look at. A take a look at of your dedication. A take a look at of your priorities. A take a look at of your attitude. And the simplest right solution is action. Not perfect action, just action. You begin where aim you're. You use what you have got. You do what you may, but you pass. It's the habit that changes the whole lot. Taking motion while your mind says delay again is not clean. However, it's essential. If you could grasp this moment, you may master your progress. And whilst you do it regularly sufficient, your mind starts off evolved to rewire. Put off loses its grip. Excuses lose their energy, and you begin to stay like a person who follows via. No longer simply once but whenever. It's subjects. It really is the form of individual who wins. That's the form of life worth building. One movement at a time. Chapter 5. Push yourself to complete what you start today. Push yourself to complete what you begin today. That's how you construct man or woman. This is how you separate yourself from the group. Everybody can begin. Most people do. Starting is easy, but it is the finishing that sets you apart. It is where actual growth occurs. Now not within the moment of pleasure, while the whole lot feels fresh, but within the quiet hours while it is tough to stay with it. It really is whilst you discover who you certainly are. There is always something pulling you away from the assignment. Distractions, doubt, boredom, soreness. All of it suggests up the instant you try to stay steady. But you have to train yourself to live targeted, even when it's now not interesting anymore. Even if it's tougher than you notion it'd be. Even when you'd instead stop and relaxation. You have to build the kind of discipline that asserts, if I started out this today, I will finish it today. While you go away matters half have carried out, it begins to wear on you. You might inform yourself, it's no massive deal. You may think, I'll get returned to it the following day. But deep down, unfinished work will become mental litter. It lingers in the lower back of your thoughts. It creates strain, it steals your cognizance. And over time, it chips away at your confidence. You begin to doubt your ability to follow via. You begin seeing yourself as someone who quits early, and that notion slowly turns into a habit. You have to fight that because the way you do one issue often becomes the way you do the whole lot. In case you reduce corners on the small things, you'll cut corners at the large ones too. It is why it's subjects to finish strong. No longer for the result, no longer for the reward, but for the integrity it builds inside you. It's about proving to yourself, which you don't need to feel perfect to complete what you stated you'd do. Some days you won't sense adore it. Your mind will give you every excuse in the ebook. You're tired, you've accomplished enough. Nobody's looking. It can wait. That is while you push. Now not as it's handy, however, because your requirements be counted extra than your temper. Your requirements are your personal settlement with yourself. And in case you smash that agreement, often yourself, rust starts off evolve to fall apart. Each time you end what you begin, although it's small, you build a mental aspect. That face it contains into other areas of your life. Finish the exercise, and you will begin showing up stronger in conversations. Entire the mission, and you'll bring greater confidence into the following venture. Clean up the mess you created, and you may assume greater virtually in the entirety else. Comply with through turns into your new everyday. There is something powerful about doing what you said you will do, especially while it's now not smooth, especially whilst no person else is maintaining you responsible. Due to the fact it really is when you end up your very own leader. It truly is when you stop desiring to be pushed. It's when your discipline will become internal, and whilst discipline comes from within, you turn out to be unstoppable. You do not need a perfect machine. You do not need more motivation. You want urgency. No longer in a rushed or panicked manner, however in a clean and present manner. You examine your day and ask, what wishes to be carried out? Then you do it. No longer the next day. Now not later nowadays. And you do it absolutely. You do not half a finish. You don't go away pieces behind. You complete it due to the fact it is who you're turning into. Of entirety builds readability. When your thought sees something through to the cease, it closes a loop. It says that is dealt with. And that closure gives you space to move forward. However, while matters are left incomplete, your mind continues circling return to them. You preserve remembering what you have not completed. That takes strength. And wasted energy is considered one of the biggest reasons humans feel stuck. They are tired through all of the things they have commenced, however, never completed. You could reverse that. You can get your power back through doing what you keep away from. You could feel lighter by means of definitely completing the undertaking you've been wearing for too long. And after you begin finishing more things, your identity adjustments. You start to see yourself as dependable, as centered, as someone who closes the distance among idea and motion. It really is how momentum is built, one finished assignment at a time. It does not need to be dramatic. It just must be achieved. In case you instructed yourself you would smooth the table, easy it. If you stated you would have a look at for an hour, do the hour. In case you commenced writing something, don't stop halfway. Give yourself the gift crowning glory. It's now not approximately perfection. It's about commitment. You do not ought to do the entirety flawlessly. You simply have to complete what you started out. This mindset additionally trains you to paintings with time, not towards it. Most of the people waste time because they restart the same responsibilities time and again. They get midway finished, for a stall, then strive once more tomorrow. That is inefficient. That kills drift. But while you end these days, you move on day after today. You development in preference to recycle. This is how people get ahead. They stay ahead of the hesitation. They execute without dragging it into every other day. Start seeing the whole thing you do as a hazard to boost a trendy. While you finish, you enhance your popular. While you prevent early, you decrease it. It's that easy. There may be no want to overthink it. Just end what you started out. Don't examine. Don't look ahead to suggestion. Don't stall. Act whole, move ahead. That mindset creates emotional energy, because now you don't simply wish for outcomes. You build them one movement at a time. You don't need extra discipline the next day. You need extra choices nowadays. The choice to push while it's less complicated to pause. The selection to attention whilst distractions are calling. the choice to shut the bankruptcy you opened. Those small wins depend greater than you think. They stack up. They come to be your advantage. They emerge as the reason you experience assured walking into new challenges. The general public live in a loop of incomp finishing touch. You do not have to. You may wreck that loop nowadays. It begins with one project, 1 second, one push. Remind yourself that the feeling of being achieved is better than the sensation of preventing quick. Remind yourself that boom would not come from smooth starts. It comes from difficult finishes. You've started out many things in existence. Some you've finished, a few have not. It's okay. But from this factor on, decide that if something receives its slow nowadays, it gets your complete attention. You don't go away it undone. You do not pass it to the following day. You do it proper now. This is how you earn your own admire. This is how you live clear-headed. This is how you win quietly, constantly, and completely. Push yourself no longer due to the fact you're in the back of. However, because you are able to extra. Push due to the fact the day matters. Push due to the fact you have had enough of stopping midway. Push due to the fact the person you want to emerge as doesn't live in delay, doubt, or unfinished work. That model of you lives in motion, clarity, and finishing touch. And that version is constructed today by way of what you end. Chapter 6. Say no to things that drain your energy. Say no to matters that drain your strength. That one selection can defend your peace, sharpen your focus, and provide you with return control over your existence. Each unmarried day, you're being pulled in exclusive instructions. Humans want your time. Devices demand your interest. Conduct creep into your habitual that do not serve you. And without understanding it, your energy receives drained by means of things that don't flow your existence forward. Not due to the fact you are vulnerable. However, because you haven't been educated to mention no with power and clarity. The general public think energy best comes from sleep, meals, and rest. But the truth is, your electricity is also deeply linked for your boundaries, your priorities, and your ability to choose what you permit into your existence. In case you continuously say sure to the whole thing and anybody, you slowly lose the electricity to construct what topics. You unfold yourself skinny. You depart no room for consciousness, no space for relaxation, and no time for what you truly care approximately. It feel polite to say yes. It might feel less difficult to go along with things, but every needless yes is a slow leak of your personal energy. And when enough of those leak out, you're left feeling drained, unfocused and unmotivated. This is not awful luck. It is poor management of power. Electricity isn't always endless. You awaken with a restricted quantity each day, and how you spend it matters. You can spend it on folks who bitch non-prevent. You could spend it scrolling through infinite noise. You can spend it overthinking things that by no means alternate. Or you can select to protect it, direct it, and use it to construct something meaningful. However, you cannot do each. You can't pour yourself into desires and distractions on the equal time. You need to choose. And that desire starts off evolved through announcing no more often. Now not out of anger, however out of self-respect. Some of the largest breakthroughs in life do not come from doing more. They come from getting rid of what drains you. The draining conversations, the unimportant duties, the poisonous relationships, the senseless routines, all of it adds up. It is now not just what you do, it's what you allow. And in case you're now not careful, your days get filled with matters that we put on you out without giving anything returned. It is why no is this type of effective word. It creates space. It clears your route. It reminds you that some time and energy are valuable. You are now not right here to live on autopilot. You are not here to be available to the whole lot. You're here to grow, to construct, to make development, which means you have to be selective. You have to know what feeds you and what empties you. And as soon as you need to act on it, you need to begin slicing off what does not belong to your existence. This is no longer egocentric. That is survival. It's strategy. It is increase. Too many people are worn out. Not due to the fact they have got performed too much, but due to the fact they've finished too much of what doesn't remember. They have got said sure to each request. They have agreed to every choose. They have allowed interruptions at each hour. And now their thoughts is scattered, their body is heavy, and their desires are buried underneath responsibilities. That pattern ends whilst you say no, not with guilt, however with clarity. If something drains you, you need to ask why you are nevertheless allowing it. Is it due to the fact you're afraid to disenchant a person? Is it because you don't need to seem rude? Is it due to the fact you've got convinced yourself that your desires don't matter? The one's reasons sound desirable at the floor, but they value you ultimately. Due to the fact the more you abandon yourself to please others, the much less of you is left. And over time, you neglect what you even wanted in the first region. Your strength is not a casual thing. It's your lifestyle's pressure. It fuels your thoughts, your actions, your feelings. And in case you preserve giving it away to the wrong things, you won't have enough left for the proper matters. It truly is how people flow far away from their potential. Not because they're lazy, but because they're constantly tired via matters they never wondered. So that you ought to pause and take stock. What takes from you and offers nothing lower back? What makes you feel smaller, now not more potent? What pulls you far from your priorities? That's where your no desires to go. This does not imply you close up anyone out. It means you emerge as more intentional. You pick out wherein your interest goes. You choose who is get admission to for your time. You choose what receives a reaction and what gets neglected. Because every desire is either constructing you up or sporting you down. And also you don't want to feel horrific approximately shielding your peace. Folks who recognize your obstacles are the folks that belong on your existence. Saying no is likewise how you construct cognizance. When you forestall letting each little element into your day, you begin having area to concentrate. You forestall being reactive and start becoming proactive. You forestall jumping from one aspect to another and begin finishing what you begin. That kind of cognizance is a superpower in a global complete of noise. And it is no longer something you stumble into. It's something you create by reducing the extra. While you say no to distractions, you assert sure to boom. Whilst you say no to draining humans, you are saying yes to peace. When you say no to unnecessary habits, you say yes to progress. It is no longer about being bloodless. It is approximately being devoted. You have to ask yourself, what kind of life do I need to build? And what status in the manner of that life? If it does not align together with your cause, your values, or your priorities, then it would not deserve your power. You need to educate your mind to recognize what feels proper and what feels off. That feeling you get when something drains you. That heaviness, that frustration, that tightness on your chest, it's now not random, it is remarks. Your body and mind are telling you this is not for you. Concentrate to that. Honor it. Do not silence it with distractions. Do not bury it beneath obligations. Pay attention and make the choice that protects your energy. Humans will always ask on your time. The arena will continually provide you something new to awareness on. But no longer the entirety deserves a shore. Now not the entirety desires a response. Some matters are supposed to be declined. A few invites want to be became down. Some conversations need to quit. A few behavior need to move. Now not later now. Because the longer you wait to mention no, the greater you will resent the matters you've got allowed to take over your existence. That is how you start building a new attitude. One that's now not based totally on overload, however on readability. One that's now not fueled by means of chaos, however by way of aim. One that is aware of a way to shield strength like it's something sacred, because it is. You do not get unlimited strength. You get what you shield. And in case you start every day with the question, what will guard my energy nowadays? You'll make better selections. You will construct better exercises. You will circulate with cause as opposed to stress. So from now on, have a look at each request, each dependency, each scenario, and ask, does this build me or drain me? If it drains you, say no, no, not later. No, not when it's handy. Now say no with confidence. Say no with peace. Say no with the information that on every occasion you defend your electricity, you create area for growth. You create room for recognition. You create readability for your existence. And that is how you exchange the whole thing one effective no at a time. Bankruptcy 7. Research one new component that sharpens your thinking. Study one new issue that sharpens your questioning. That is addiction which could alternate the course of your lifestyles if you commit to it each day. Not sometimes, not most effective when it's clean, each day, One new idea, one new insight, one new idea that demanding situations how you believe you studied. That habit carried out constantly will support your mind in ways you cannot consider proper now. Due to the fact what you feed your mind will become the foundation of your selections, your ideals and your results. The mind, similar to the body, needs each day schooling. If you ignore it, it receives lazy, it gets stupid, it starts repeating antique styles. You start reacting instead of wondering. You begin assuming as opposed to learning. However, while you make the choice to grow mentally, you step right into a special existence. A lifestyle where you are more aware, more intentional, more organized. You notice things clearer. You reply better. You turn out to be sharper, more potent, and extra strong. That everyone starts off evolved with mastering, one element at a time. You do not have to study an entire book each day. You do not need to attend a seminar every week. You simply want to be steady in challenging your mind. Examine a new principle approximately area. Discover a better manner to control some time. Apprehend a deeper reality about how behavior paintings. Look at how successful people assume and act. Open your mind to thoughts that make you uncomfortable. That is where boom lives, just past what you recognize. There is a price to staying mentally stuck. Whilst you don't research, you repeat. You make the equal errors. You fall into the same traps. You surround yourself with the equal form of thoughts. And slowly you forestall progressing. Not due to the fact you are no longer attempting. However, due to the fact you're operating with outdated questioning. The world adjustments fast. Troubles evolve. Opportunities shift. And if your questioning doesn't grow, you fall in the back of, no longer inside the world's eyes, however to your very own ability. Sharp thinking gives you an area in each location of life. It allows you making better decisions. It protects you from emotional reactions. It gives you the capacity to resolve troubles without panic. It lets in you to split what's urgent from what is crucial. It gives you manipulate over your attention. And that manage builds actual freedom. Freedom from confusion. Freedom from frustration. Freedom from the intellectual chaos that maintains the general public stuck. However, that kind of thinking doesn't show up through twist of fate. It is constructed. It's sharpened. It is developed via mastering something beneficial each day. You cannot watch for existence to educate you the whole thing the tough way. You have to be proactive. You need to are looking for knowledge like it is your duty because it's far. Nobody's going to knock for your door and hand you a higher mindset. You construct it via exposing yourself to higher records. It could be a podcast. It could be a well-written article. It may be 5 pages of an e-book. It can be a deep communication with a person who knows greater than you. It could also be a second of mirrored image on something you skilled the day before today. The method does not matter. The discipline does. The commitment to boom does. The willingness to think deeper does. That's what separates folks who develop from folks who stay stuck in circles. Every day brings a brand new hazard to improve your thoughts. However, you have to pick it. You have to mention, today I will feed my mind something that strengthens it. That one act finished again, and again adds as much as transformation. It does not sense dramatic within the second. However, weeks go with the aid of, months pass. And all at once you realize you're no longer questioning such as you used to. You're a more affected person. You are more strategic. You are no longer shaken with the aid of small things. You are not making impulsive choices. You have matured mentally, and it indicates in your consequences. Mastering also builds self-belief. When you recognize greater, you doubt yourself much less. You prevent guessing and start understanding. You deliver yourself with fact. Now, not due to the fact you've got all of the solutions, but because you are growing in expertise. And information gives you the courage to behave, to talk sincerely, to guide, to stand problems head-on in place of warding off them. That sort of self-assurance does not come from wishing. It comes from understanding you've got organized your mind for existence's challenges. The general public prevent learning after faculty. They suppose they have got achieved sufficient. But life will continually call for extra. And in case you don't live a scholar, lifestyles will pressure you to research through pain, through failure, through sadness. You may keep away from plenty of that with the aid of selecting to study now. Learn before the crisis. Research earlier than the error. Research before the regret. It's how smart people function. They live in advance because they in no way prevent gaining knowledge of. The truth is life rewards the person who shows up equipped, mentally prepared, focused, constant, robust. That type of person doesn't disintegrate below stress due to the fact they've trained their mind to stay sharp. They don't wander off in drama because they have evolved perspective. They do not collapse when matters cross wrong due to the fact they have studied a way to reply, no longer react. That sort of energy is constructed one lesson at a time. You don't need to be the neatest. You simply want to stay hungry, live curious, stay humble sufficient to admit you don't know the whole thing, and sturdy enough to find the answers. Permit that be part of who you're. The individual that by no means we could a day move by means of without growing in some way. The person that sees every situation as a chance to examine. The person who asks questions, who seeks reality, who remains mentally prepared due to the fact they recognize existence, doesn't wait with a view to seize up. Mastering sharpens your attention. You start noticing matters others miss. You start seeing connections among thoughts. You start predicting troubles before they manifest. You start adapting quicker. That consciousness turns into your advantage. It maintains you alert. It enables you pass with aim. It makes your presence more potent due to the fact your thoughts is not cluttered with confusion. It's clear, sharp, and centered. However, this only happens when you make it an addiction. One new element every day. Does not remember how small. What topics is that it is constant, that it subjects in your boom, that it strengthens the way you suspect. Your attitude is your finest device. You have to treat it like something treasured. You need to educate it, protect it, and feed it well. So, make a selection from at the present time forward. No greater intellectual autopilot. No greater going through the day without feeding your thoughts. No more settling for old methods of thinking. If you need a higher existence, you want higher questioning. If you need better consequences, you want higher techniques. And in case you need to grow, you want to study day by day, continuously and intentionally. This is how you circulate from who you're to who you may be. That is the way you grow robust from the inside out. One new element every day, one idea that makes you believe you studied, one insight that makes you better. That's all it takes. And once you begin, you may by no means need to move again, because the more you grow, the clearer lifestyles turns into. The more you realize, the more assured you experience, and the sharper you suspect, the stronger you live. Every unmarried day, one lesson at a time. Bankruptcy 8. Flow around to stop your mood from sinking. Pass around to stop your temper from sinking. It sounds simple, and it's far, but it's one of the maximum omitted conduct that may pull you out of mental and emotional lows. When your temper starts off evolved to drop, your strength slows down, your wondering receives cloudy, and everything begins to feel heavier than it actually is. You begin to overthink small issues. You begin doubting yourself. You lose momentum. This is when the mind turns in opposition to you. And in case you do not interrupt that pattern early, you start slipping into a nation it really is hard to interrupt out of. However, there's a powerful solution inside reach. Movement. When you move your body, you shift your country. You create trade without ready on motivation. You do not want to sense top to start. You simply need to stand up. Bodily motion sends a message on your mind that it's time to reset. That something new is going on, that you're now not stuck. It does not have to be excessive. You do not want to run 5 miles or hit the fitness center for hours. Every so often it's just status up, stretching, taking walks round your room, taking a step outdoor, doing a few squats, transferring your fingers, changing your posture. The secret's to act earlier than the low temper takes control. Low moods do not simply appear out of nowhere. They build slowly, induced by using inactivity, isolation, terrible mind, or loss of course. And when you stay nevertheless for too long, those emotions develop. You sit down on your own head. You overanalyze. You play the identical antique testimonies time and again. But whilst you pass, you interrupt that loop. You disrupt the intellectual sample it's pulling you down. Motion clears area for new thoughts to enter. It opens a window for a higher angle to show up. It receives your blood flowing, your respiration deeper, and your interest from your thoughts and into the present. Most of the people anticipate their mood to improve before they take action. They suppose, I'll flow after I experience better. But the truth is, you feel better due to the fact you moved. This is the shift the general public need. You do not look forward to energy. You create it. You do not look forward to readability. You pass your way into it. And the moment you begin, you understand you're no longer as caught as you idea. Your troubles fail to disappear, but your power to stand them elevated. That is what motion gives you. Not answers, but the capacity to deal with what is in front of you. There is a cause human beings experience higher after a stroll. There is a purpose strain softens after light movement. Your body holds feelings. It stores anxiety. It reacts in your mind. And whilst you stay still in an awful state, that anxiety will increase. However, as soon as you begin moving, your device responds. You begin to launch the load. This is urgent down for your temper. And step by step, you shift your country from court to regular. You have to do not forget this. Your body isn't always separate out of your mind. They may be deeply linked. What you do with one impacts the other. If you droop your shoulders, decrease your head, and sit inside the dark, your mind will replicate that posture. But in case you open up, stand tall, circulate with motive, and breathe deeper, your mind starts off evolved to comply with. You impact your mind set with the aid of what you do physically. It's why motion isn't just about health. It's about emotional manipulate. It's a manner to shield your power when lifestyles starts off evolved urgent in. You may construct this as a daily habit. You do not must wait till you feel low. Use motion as a device throughout the day to maintain your mindset robust. Take a walk whilst you're caught on a problem. Get up and stretch when your thoughts get too loud. Do something physical whilst you feel yourself spiraling. Train your frame to end up your signal. It is aware of whilst you need a shift, and it responds while you take movement. You don't need fancy routines. You do not need gadget. You need attention and intention. If your temper starts off evolved dipping, do not sit down and hope it fixes itself. Rise up. Pass, breathe, take control. That is what non-public duty looks like. It is not approximately fending off awful days. It is approximately getting to know how to manage them higher. Movement gives you that area. It offers you a manner out when your mind attempts to trap you. It also builds momentum. Some steps develop into a brief walk. A short stretch turns into 5 minutes of float. One push-up becomes a burst of strength. And the next factor, your attention returns. Your readability sharpens. Your goals do not feel as a long way away. You are again inside the motive force's seat. Not because everything's perfect. However, due to the fact you moved in preference to sitting inside the hurricane. You may not always want to do it. That is predicted. But do it anyway. Movement is a field. It's a habit of self-care that strengthens your resilience. The more you train yourself to reply with motion, rather than emotion, the stronger you become. You prevent being managed by using emotions. You forestall letting moods run your day. You expand a grounded attitude that movements forward irrespective of what. And right here's the beautiful part. Motion is always to be had to you, irrespective of in which you're, no matter what is taking place. You do not want a motive. You do not need an agenda. You simply need a choice. Whilst your electricity feels off, move. While your temper dips, pass. Whilst your mind starts off evolved racing, pass. It is no longer a therapy all. However, it is a trigger for alternate. It's the start of a better second. You do not want to fight your emotions. You want to redirect them. You don't want to ignore your stress. You want to launch it. Movement helps you do each. It gives your feelings a way out. It offers your thoughts a spoil from itself. It brings you back into the prevailing. And within the gift, you may make higher choices. You may take a breath. You could regroup. And every now and then it is all you need. So start making this part of your existence. Don't just move while you experience properly. Flow whilst you do not. Move when you're caught. Circulate whilst your thought says no longer today. Circulate as it's your way of saying, I still have manipulate. That decision will prevent from sinking into moods that scouse borrow your days. This addiction might not simply elevate you in low moments. It'll make you mentally more difficult standard. It'll growth your awareness. It'll make stronger your emotional regulation. It'll give you one more tool to address the pressures of life. And the extra you use it, the extra herbal it becomes. Movement turns into your anchor, your reset button, your quiet answer to a loud mind. The days when you don't need to move are the days while you need it most. Those are the days that define whether or not you spiral or stabilize. So don't wait. Do not put off. Don't let your strength sink due to the fact you're looking ahead to motivation. Move before the temper takes over. Shift your country with action. Use your body to alternate your mind. Due to the fact the most powerful people aren't the ones who by no means sense low. They're the ones who realize the way to raise themselves out of it. One step at a time, one move at a time, one preference at a time. Bankruptcy 9. Appearance again at nowadays and ask what stepped forward. Appearance again at today and ask what improved. That simple query, while practiced daily, can remodel how you grow, how you suspect, and the way you move through life. At the end of every day, when the noise quiets and the paintings is completed, you get the danger to test in with yourself. No longer simply to see how busy you have been, but to see if you made any development. Due to the fact being energetic is not the same as getting better. And if you never pause to mirror, you may not know whether you are shifting forward or simply strolling in area. Improvement would not continually show up as massive wins or obvious success. Most days it's found in small shifts, in better choices, in how you handled a communication, in how fast you bought returned on target after a setback. But if you do not prevent and look for those things, you pass over them. And while you omit them, you start to sense like not anything's operating, like you're caught, like your effort isn't paying off. That is how discouragement creeps in. Not due to the fact you are not improving, but due to the fact you are not recognizing it. This everyday habit isn't always approximately judgment. It is no longer approximately searching out what you did wrong. It is about taking note of what you probably did proper. What got higher? What moved inside the right course, although only a little? Did you display more persistence nowadays than the day before today? Did you observe through on a task you typically keep away from? Did you select discipline over distraction? Did you preserve your mind? Set in check when matters didn't go your way? These are the moments that build character. And when you're taking time to be aware of them, you start to trust to your own increase. That notion is robust. It keeps you going while progress is invisible. It gives you gas on the times while consequences are slow. It reminds you that every day has price, that no effort is wasted if it's moving you toward who you want to be. But you might not see any of that except you pause and ask the query, what advanced nowadays? It doesn't count number how busy you have been. What topics is whether you obtain better in a few manner. Due to the fact actual success is measured in self-mastery. It is measured in how well you manipulate it slow, your energy, your attitude, and your selections. And the simplest way to hold enhancing in those areas is to reflect definitely and constantly. While you construct the dependency of checking in with yourself at the give up of the day, you benefit something the majority miss, consciousness. You stop drifting. You forestall repeating vintage errors. You forestall letting days pass without, which means you start taking ownership. And that ownership becomes momentum. The majority live on autopilot. They undergo the motions. They end the day exhausted, distracted, and disconnected from their goals. They hope matters gets better. However, they don't track whatever. They do not evaluation. They do not examine from their personal lifestyles. And because of that, they live stuck. But whilst you look lower back each day with reason, you begin to have a look at your personal progress. You turn out to be your personal coach. You notice styles, you spot gaps, and also you build better habits. One preference at a time. You can begin this dependency in just 5 mins. Sit quietly. No smartphone, no noise. Simply your thoughts and a query. What did I improve these days? Write it down. Talk it out. Suppose through the day from morning to night time, wherein had been you sturdy? Wherein did you hesitate however still act? Wherein did you display up higher than you probably did the day prior to this? It's how increase turns into visible. And while it becomes seen, it becomes addictive. You start wanting to enhance greater. You begin pushing yourself not due to the fact you are chasing perfection. However, due to the fact you are chasing progress, you're now not going to be high quality every day. Some days development may seem like protecting back your temper. Some days it might be showing up whilst you didn't feel adore it. Other days it is probably announcing no to something that used to govern you. The factor isn't to be wonderful. The factor is to be higher even by way of 1%, even by using 1 second. In case you improved your mindset, your recognition, your selections, your discipline, you then won. This habit additionally teaches you honesty. Not the kind you carry out for others, but the kind you take a seat with alone. When you look lower back at the day, you see the reality. You see whether or not you wasted time. You notice whether you prevented the paintings. You notice if you gave your pleasant or simply were given via. And that kind of honesty creates boom. No longer guilt, no longer disgrace. Boom, because now you know what to alter. You know in which to aim. You understand how to awaken day after today and do just a little better. It is easy to miss increase, while existence movement's rapid. However, the most powerful changes often come slowly in day-by-day movements, in steady effort, in quiet improvements. It's why mirrored image matters. Because without it, you lose song of the adventure. You forget about how far you've come. You miss the classes. However, while you reflect, you bring the ones training ahead. You recall the good. You analyze from the terrible. And you enter the following day greater prepared. This isn't about strain. It is about consciousness. You do not need to be ideal. You simply need to be wide awake. Gift enough to note what's operating. Sincere enough to confess what is no longer. Dedicated sufficient to hold going and humble sufficient to research out of your very own enjoy. Make this addiction personal. Do not evaluate it to others. Don't attempt to impress everyone along with your development. That is your journey, your development. Ask yourself at night, not what the world thinks, however what you know to be true. Did I develop nowadays? Did I take a step? Did I do something that made me more potent? If sure, be proud. If now not, regulate. And either way, get equipped to head again tomorrow. Your thoughts will become clearer when you reflect. Your goals live fresh. Your moves grow to be sharper. A while becomes extra intentional. That is how you construct a life of consistent improvement, not through grand gestures, but through day-by-day recognition, through small wins, through sincere reflection, through one excellent query at the end of each day. So irrespective of how the day went, whether it felt like a victory or a setback, don't let it skip without asking the query. Appearance again. Ask what improved, locate the progress, learn from the moments, and let that awareness guide you forward. It truly is the way you grow without burning out. It truly is the way you live connected in your reason. That is the way you construct a mindset that receives stronger each unmarried day. Bankruptcy 10. Keep on with desirable conduct until they sense herbal. Stick to exact habits till they feel natural. That is how real transformation takes place. Now not by trying to exchange the whole thing overnight, but by way of staying steady long sufficient that the proper moves turn out to be computerized. The majority give up earlier than they get there. They try something for some days, perhaps a couple of weeks, and when it starts feeling tough or inconvenient, they forestall. No longer as it does not paintings, but because they predicted it to experience clean too soon. But in case you're extreme about converting your lifestyles, you need to understand this. The step forward happens after the repetition. You earn the results by way of sticking with the habit lengthy enough for it to turn out to be a part of who you are. The start is always the hardest. While the dependency is new, your mind resists it. Your body resists it. You sense uncomfortable. You second-guess your progress. You surprise if it is even worth it. This is the take a look at. If you push via that early resistance and keep going, the system starts to get less difficult. No longer because the challenge changes, but because you do. Your attitude adapts, your identity adjusts. You forestall wanting to convince yourself. You simply do it. There may be electricity in doing the identical proper thing each day. You forestall arguing with yourself. You forestall debating whether or not you ought to do it, or no longer. You forestall overthinking. You just awaken and act. That's what makes the addiction experience herbal. It becomes part of your rhythm. It turns into your trendy. It becomes the manner you pass through lifestyles, without needing to speak yourself into it each time. Most people get stuck inside the cycle of starting and stopping. They start with motivation, get excited, make guarantees, however then existence occurs. Distractions display up. Old behavior, call them lower back. And in place of staying the course, they hit pause. They allow emotion override area. And whenever they stop, they reset the development. They live inside the early degree in which the whole lot feels compelled. That's why nothing sticks, because they in no way stayed long sufficient to make it herbal. You need to push past that line. You need to undergo the days when it would not experience rewarding, when it appears like work, when nobody sees what you are doing. Whilst you do not even see the modifications yourself, but it truly is the gap where conduct gets solid. You do not need dramatic wins every day. You need quiet consistency. The kind of effort that looks small in the moment, however, compounds over time. While you keep on with something long enough, it stops feeling like effort and starts off-evolved feeling like habitual. You prevent relying on motivation because the conduct is now acquainted. It suits into your day like brushing your enamel, like getting dressed. You do not think about it. You just do it. It's the purpose. This is in which your strength lives, in computerized excellence, in doing the proper thing without having a motive each unmarried time. You do not need to be perfect. You simply need to be chronic. You'll slip. You'll omit a day. However, the distinction between those who exchange and those who do not is how speedy they get back on track. Those who succeed do not look forward to the best moment to start once more. They pick out it back up without guilt and hold going. Because one ignored day doesn't undo a dependency. Quitting does. The key is to deal with habits as a part of your identification, no longer a transient challenge. It takes time to rewire your routines. You are not simply adding new actions. You're replacing old patterns. You're coaching your thoughts and body that is the new trendy. And it is uncomfortable at first. That's regular. That discomfort approach, you're breaking away from the vintage model of you. You are deciding on something higher, even when it is not easy. And whenever you display up and follow via, you show to yourself which you're becoming a person distinct. You do not want huge action to trade your lifestyles. You need consistency in small movements that flow you forward. A bit area every day provides up quicker than bursts of energy accompanied via long gaps. Display up while it is difficult. Display up when it is boring. Display up whilst you'd rather do something else. It really is how the dependency sticks. It really is the way it becomes actual. People frequently ask how lengthy it takes to construct a dependency. There is no fixed answer. The truth is it takes as lengthy as it takes to make it feel natural. For a few things, it really is some weeks. For others, it is months. What matters is not the timeline. What topics is which you maintain going until you no longer need to reflect on consideration on it. Until it is no longer something you try and do. It's just something you do. You may note the shift sooner or later. You'll awaken and do the aspect without resistance, at once, without the inner war. It truly is when you recognize the dependency has taken root. This is whilst it is not a goal. It is a manner of lifestyles. But that moment would not manifest by way of good fortune. It happens due to the fact you saved going through the friction. You stored going while the pleasure faded. You saved displaying up with quiet area. Behavior shape your destiny earlier. They're the muse under every result you want. You don't rise on your desires. You fall to the level of your structures, and those systems are built on habits. If you need to develop, you need conduct that assist your increase. In case you want peace, you want conduct that lessen pressure. In case you want strength, you want behavior that project you. And once you discover the proper habits, your best activity is to repeat them until they emerge as second nature. It is how change becomes everlasting. Not because you pressured it each day, but due to the fact you persisted lengthy sufficient for it to end up automatic. You do not have to warfare with your habits for all time, but you do need to devote lengthy enough for them to settle in, and that is in which the majority fall quick. They give up inside the transition. They leave throughout the anxiety. They don't recognize the toughest component is right earlier than it receives easier. Stay with it. Even if the outcomes aren't displaying yet. Even if nobody claps for you. Even when it feels repetitive, that repetition is what builds a new edition of you. A more targeted you, a more successful you, an extra steady you. And one day you'll look lower back and comprehend you don't even think about the addiction anymore. You just stay it. You embody it. It's a part of your identification, and that is the purpose. to stay the type of lifestyles where doing the proper factor would not experience like stress. It seems like normal. To construct routines that shield your electricity, build your discipline, and convey you ahead. You don't ought to pressure it all the time. But you do have to complete what you start. And in case you stay with good conduct lengthy enough, they'll deliver you even when motivation runs dry. They may preserve you consistent when life receives chaotic. They may remind you who you have come to be. Stay with the manner until the procedure turns into who you're. This is the moment conduct stop feeling like effort and begin feeling like identification. That is when your lifestyle starts off evolved walking on a new gadget, one it really is constructed on electricity, consistency, and increase. You are no longer awaiting alternate anymore. You're living it one day at a time, one addiction at a time, till it's just who you